bedtime.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Gave screen time to finish a call.
I just did that yesterday when we were talking.
Yeah.
I actually even gave like candy. I was like, okay, go eat a chocolate. Leave me alone for 5 minutes.
I haven't done that, but I would do it. I mean, I'm not above it. Oh, no.
Choose self-care over playtime.
yeah.
You should be choosing self-care over playtime.
Yeah.
I mean, Gloria talked about the bartan, right?
Yeah.
That if your bartan is empty, how will you ever pour into your child?
for sure.
Gave candy or chocolate as a bribe.
Me, I've done it.
100%.
I've done it.
Okay. Sent child to school while slightly unwell.
I'm not.
I've never done that.
I'm not.
Good.
Compare yourself to another mom on Instagram.
100%. Yes.
That makes me sad.
But I mean, short-lived. Like you compare and then you're like, okay, fine. I'm done with it. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Unparent, a podcast where we navigate modern parenting challenges. And today we have with us Sanjana. And we're discussing mom guilt. I think something that it's a conversation that's been in our WhatsApp groups for
It has
a
left
long
the chat
time.
now.
And it needs to leave the chat. Yeah.
The mom guilt has left the group chat.
It's left the group
It's finally
chat.
made it out of the group chat.
And I think this was very necessary. But before we get into the conversation, Sanjana, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sanjana. I'm a content creator, but ever since I had a baby, that kind of feels like more of a side hustle because I am a full-time mom with overtime mom guilt.
And I think you've been really vocal about it. Like, I feel like you had Amira, I think a year after Isla was born. And I remember, like, soon after you had her, there was, like, an Instagram story where you spoke about breastfeeding and how hard that was. And I mean, I didn't struggle with breastfeeding, but I remember thinking that, dude, this is hard. But all my friends at that time were like, it's the most beautiful thing in the world and I love it and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, is there something wrong with me that I find like waking up in the middle of the night to feed my child a little torturous, for lack of a better word?
It is.
So I really started doubting myself. But I think seeing your like voice,
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, I think this also has a lot to do with what we're going to talk about today, which is the like perception of things, right? Is actually what drives the way that we feel internally about stuff. So I have a platform. I want to talk about stuff that I'm going through honestly on my platform so that other people feel that it's okay to feel that way, if not admit that, right? Like, I am sure that the moms that you know have struggled with their own things, but we don't really have the opportunity to talk about that all the time. And so what you do see is this like amazing, everything is so wonderful vibe of momming. And that doesn't give you the space to feel like you can talk about it. So I'm complaining for all of us, really.
Yeah. And I think we need more people to complain.
Thank you. I'm actually going to rephrase the opportunity part to permission.
Yes.
I think the cultural narrative
sure.
around becoming a parent, and especially for mums, is one of, oh my God, that's what you were meant to do. That's why you exist,
Yeah.
right? So as soon as you give birth, it's just, I mean, even
You're
the
just a cow
advertisements.
at that point.
Yeah, the advertisements you think about is almost all, talking about being in awe of this baby, and no one's talking about the postpartum bit.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about the sleepless nights. Nobody's talking about everything you give up from your body to your mind.
Yeah.
In those, both during pregnancy and in the weeks that come after and in the life that comes after.
And it's like when you're pregnant, you're like the most important person ever. And then the minute you have a baby, it's like,
See ya.
see ya. And now, by the way, here's one Tylenol or whatever, one ibuprofen for your pain. Don't take more because you have to breastfeed, right? So you can't take stronger painkillers. And also, by the way, now your entire body is no longer your own. So
The
enjoy that.
violation, yes.
Yeah. Even the medical system, even
Yeah.
doctors don't check in on you.
Exactly.
You have your first checkup one checkup that you have, whatever, 6 weeks after you've given birth. After you've been going to the doctor like so routinely to make sure that this baby you're just dropped by everybody.
Yeah.
So and
That's painful.
it is really painful. And we know that the village that it takes to raise this child doesn't exist in the same way anymore. And for me, it really does. I mean, I have a full-on village and I still experience so many moments of isolation, of mom guilt, of just feeling like, what is my life beyond just being this baby's gatekeeper, essentially?
Yeah, and it is, of course, something. See, the guilt also hits hard. I mean, I remember, I also want to look at it through the stages of it, because that will sort of highlight that the fact that the guilt never goes away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just looking back to like my postpartum period, and I had this like fairly high needs baby. I didn't realize it at the time. In fact, I was telling Ravneet that my second birth and my second newborn experience was almost healing and therapeutic for me because A, the birth was so much more peaceful that it like healed me from my first birth, and B, my second child just was more like just a much easier baby, so it healed me from the postpartum period of my first child. But in that moment you don't know, so I still remember like Isla was crying and I was getting really fried about the fact that like I wasn't being able to console her, and a friend of mine was visiting me who was at that moment struggling to conceive. And just the fact that like I wasn't feeling grateful for the fact that I had a crying baby in my arms in that moment when somebody who was visiting me, like my own emotion just felt like not validated at all. I was like, you should be grateful. What's wrong with you? Why are you like getting frustrated at the fact that you have a crying child? At least you have a child in your hands.
Yeah.
And the guilt actually just stems at every single level. Like there's no sort of escaping it. So Nanki, I want to ask you before we like really get into the conversation, is this guilt like, I mean, what's the clinical perspective on it? Is this guilt something that has compounded over the years? Are we seeing more of it in today's day and age? Is it something that like has always been there, just not talked about? Is talking about it important, or are we just making a mountain out of a molehill? I don't know where all of this stands clinically.
I think as far as the guilt aspect is concerned, I think some of it is quite literally biologically motivated in the sense that, oh yeah, I've created this being and I'm fully responsible. And as I often talk to young mothers I work with, that yeah, they were part of you. They were literally like a limb, and then they were not. And so I think there is the in the pregnancy period where there is a lot that goes on in the mind. I spoke about it also in a previous episode where we talked about primary maternal preoccupation, which is a concept by pediatrician and psychoanalyst Winnicott, who talks about how, especially by the end of pregnancy, like towards the last trimester and then in the weeks following, a mother necessarily goes into this obsessive, it's akin to OCD. He talks about how it is similar to OCD, and you're just so obsessed with the baby that you cannot think about anything or anyone, and that's when the husbands feel neglected.
Boo-hoo.
Yes. So I think what we forget is that a lot of it is, I mean, it's both biological and psychological. So there are lots of changes that are happening in the mind which most moms don't know about. So you are literally ruminating on, oh my God, I have to do this. Oh my God, I have to do this. But a lot of that PMP is to do with preparing you for the task that is motherhood. As far as the other aspect of where is it coming from, I would entirely pin it on culture and the systems around us. What you just said, that it takes a village to raise a child, but I
We
often
don't have
say
that village,
the
yeah.
village is sick.
Yeah.
The village is sick.
The village is sick, but I also want to just honestly, I want to be that person who has that little smidgen of a silver lining, because when my son was born, he was preterm. He came very early. He came at 32 weeks 5 days, and he was so little that he wasn't even crying. Like he wouldn't even cry when he was hungry. And so you had to just wake him up, and like I couldn't even feed him with the bottle. He wasn't obviously latching on. So we had to feed him with like this spoon looking contraption which is called the pallida. So we like, it's like it has a big round thing like this and a pointed edge, and you would just feed the child with that, okay? And so I was pumping around the clock, and I couldn't feed him for more than 3 months. And I remember towards the end of those 3 months, I was sitting with my pump for 40 minutes, 1 hour at a stretch, crying, and my mother-in-law one day just put her foot down.
Yeah.
She said, "You need to stop." My mom, and there's a lot of conversation around me where my friends' mother-in-laws are like, no, come on, try. There's pressure.
Yeah, of course.
And
So
especially
that's-
pressure from the in-laws. But
yeah.
my mother-in-law was like, look here, nothing is going to happen if you give your baby formula. He's going to
Amen.
be just fine. She put her foot down. She said, that's it. You're not even going to try to pump anymore. Put it away. You're making yourself miserable. There's that, I had postpartum depression as well. So after he was born, like I spent a couple of weeks just crying in the evening for 2-3 hours. Nanki, you know that. And then finally, when I was feeling a little bit better, I still remember after 6 weeks, after the 40 days were done, that time also, it was my mom-in-law who looked at me and said, you need to go back to work. You need to do something that makes you happy,
Yeah.
that reminds you of you outside of all of this. And on the 41st day, I was at a shoot.
But you had the support system to
Yeah,
enable
I
you
had
to
the
do
support
it,
system,
right?
but I'm
And
just
that's
saying.
that in and of itself is a privilege, right? It's
Yeah.
like I mean, and I had the same. I have a very supportive mom, and she had the exact same conversation with me. Breastfeeding. I mean, I posted about this, and I didn't even expect it to get that much traction because
Yeah.
to me it was just such an obvious thing because I was going through hell
Yeah, it
trying
was
to
really
breastfeed,
rough. Yeah.
and I was judging myself. I was resenting Amira. I was angry at her for not latching. Imagine
Yeah.
she's like this, and imagine then the guilt
Yeah,
associated with
But
that,
those
right?
are valid feelings.
Of course. So
Yes.
then my mom literally, like your mom-in-law, sat me down and was like, the path that you are going down right now, the grief that you're giving yourself right now, I see it taking you to a very dark place. Stop right now.
Yeah.
Like it's okay for the baby to have formula, right? And again, because you see all of this stuff about breastfeeding and it was such a magical experience. And you know what? For a lot of women, it is that. It's beautiful, it's easy. And while it's that, it's great. But nobody talks about, oh, it may not be so great. And where is the line, right? Of where do I stop doing it? Because there are marginal benefits, obviously, to
Yes.
breastfeeding in terms of the
Health.
health,
Yeah.
but they don't outweigh having a mom that is mentally not
Peaceful.
present.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
So at any point, you know, like I tell people all the time is at any time when breastfeeding isn't working for you, just drop it. You know, after you stop breastfeeding, nobody asks you if your child was breastfed or formula fed. But I also think that mom guilt especially starts way before you are a mom.
Of course.
It starts with the way that we treat women and young girls
Yes.
in our society, right? We were raised to second guess ourselves constantly. And so second guessing yourself about something as intense as parenting just feels normal because
Yeah.
you've been second guessing yourself basically your whole life, or you've had to radically overcome second guessing yourself your whole life. So I think it has just so much to do with how women always have to, like, that's why dad guilt does not exist.
I don't.
Dads do not. So I was telling Gayeti this when I was talking to her, is that perception wise and therefore internally, it's as easy to be a bad mom as it is to be a good dad.
yeah.
Like the standard is so low. And that's why there's no dad guilt. It's because dads see other dads in the world and they're like, oh, I'm doing better than that. Or, oh, this is the worst and the best one that I hear all the time is, I'm doing better than my dad did.
Dads have the luxury. I don't know if it's a luxury actually, because I love involving fathers into the therapeutic process. As far the model that I work with, a child needs two parents, right? And mother and father, or father and father, or mother, whatever
Yeah.
the couplehood might look like. But I think, again, the cultural narrative around it is that you are permitted to be outside, live a life outside, while this is your job. It's like, your role in the world is restricted to being at home, being the nurturer. And from an evolutionary perspective, if I do think about it, I'm not entirely against it. What I mean by that is, yes, there is something that mom brings to the table that dad cannot, and there is something that dad brings to the table that mom cannot. They're complementary. But that does not excuse one out of their part.
For sure.
Yes.
But guys, I don't think there's no such thing as dad guilt, because now that I'm thinking about it, I have, like, Aditya many times has had his moments of being like, okay, maybe I'm not getting it. Like, it's still a cop out. I'm not saying it isn't. This is a conversation we do have. But like, he does struggle with the fact that he doesn't think he has the space, or he hasn't claimed the space for lack of for his own reasons. He hasn't claimed that space. And
Just
he
the
does
way they
feel a
experience
certain
it
amount
is
of
and,
guilt
I, and I
about
do
it.
agree. I do
Yeah.
see it. I see it with Sukrit also because his hours are so crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that dad guilt doesn't exist. Obviously, every person
But
feels
not the
guilty,
same
but
way.
the concept that you would sit and discuss
Yeah.
in a podcast of dad guilt, like, hasn't even been, like, maybe it's also a thing that men are not given the freedom to explore their feelings in this way.
And I
right?
think it's
Yeah.
also very Indian, very,
Yeah.
very Indian. Because
But I think that there is, like, the more you communicate about this, I do see there being, I mean, it's of course not radical, but there is a change. I do think that this generation's fathers
sure, yeah.
are a lot more hands-on. They do a lot more. They're a lot more emotionally equipped and emotionally available for their children.
But not if you compare them to the women of this generation,
Of
right?
course not. I
Compared to
completely
their
agree.
forefathers,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Like, your dad wasn't even there when you were born,
But
bro.
that was
No,
Nanki's
no.
point. She said they don't know how to be
Yeah,
fathers
for
because
sure.
they didn't have
Listen,
those father figures.
because
ultimately-
they have been handed down a script
Yeah.
of their parenting where their fathers were absent and got away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ultimately the same and I say this a lot, I talk about feminism a lot in my work. I talk
Yeah.
about women's issues a lot in my work. I say this constantly. The same system that keeps me down keeps you down, brother. Like, it's not like, because men benefit more from patriarchy, that it's the best thing for them either, right? Like
No.
men have not been given the freedom to talk about their
Yes.
feelings, to even gush about their babies is seen as effeminate.
Yeah.
So I think we have to rethink the actual system.
No, and absolutely. In some circles, I've seen men like taunt the more involved father, like in a
sure.
way, like okay, you have nothing to do with your children all the time, like you're like carrying your kid's bag, like it's almost said
you're
like,
not
Or like,
a-
you're
not
not a
joining us.
stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah.
I was
Like
just
a
going to say that.
stay-at-home
That's the other
dad.
side
like,
of patriarchy.
ooh
Yeah.
my God, and it's
yeah,
There's
there's a
so
lot of
much
that.
shame. So what I was trying to say is that men may not experience guilt; they experience shame
Yeah.
when they don't deliver according to the quintessential dad roles, of providers, and what are you bringing to the table. So shame keeps them outside the child
Yeah.
and the relationship of the child, and shame is toxic. Shame is
Yeah. And I think that's like sort of like just I don't know. It's all a balancing act really, and like it's kind of like figuring out what part of it is a cop out, what part of it is genuine.
Yeah.
And it's all somewhere in between.
I think
there.
everyone's
It's
a
such an
victim.
amorphous thing,
Yeah.
like how do you even give shape to all of the things that we're
Yeah.
discussing here today? Where do you draw the line? Like what is the limiting principle for how much the man has to be involved in order
Yes.
for it to be as involved as you? And maybe are you too involved? Like for me,
Yeah.
I could cede a lot of my control. I have a full-time nanny, but I don't.
Hmm.
Partly because of mom guilt, right?
Yeah.
So like partly because being away from your child makes you feel like, oh my God, I feel terrible. I haven't spent enough time with her today. I haven't spent, will she be okay? And like invariably they're okay. But yeah, this idea that we should, we're not allowed to do anything other than be with our kids
Other than
is,
be
is
moms.
in us. It's not something that's, it is because of the outside world, but it's now so deeply
Internalized.
Internalized.
I mean, to the
yeah.
extent that the fact that we're shooting this, like there is a part of me that's guilty about not being at home with my kids.
Of course, you will
You
feel
know?
that. So, okay, I'll tell you. My first experience with mom guilt was I gave birth, and I gave birth in the US where they really believe in like skin to skin. So, this thing was just flopped onto my bare exposed chest in front of the whole room of people, right? Which at that point, who cares, whatever. And I felt nothing. I had been in labor for 2 days and I was in a lot of pain.
Oh no.
And as I was talking, as I was like figuring this all out, the doctor is stitching me up, right? And I was
God.
super epidural, so I had no idea what was going on. But I asked the doctor, how many stitches are you giving me? And she said, it's more of a running stitch at this point. So the point is, I'd lost a lot of blood and I was really struggling in that moment. And I just felt nothing. I felt exhaustion,
Yeah.
right? And immediately I felt this overwhelming feeling of like, oh my God, this is supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. This is supposed to be some magical, incredible experience. And I'm not being grateful for the
Yeah.
experience that I've been given. And I turned to my mom and I was like, Mom, I feel really bad, but I don't feel anything. And she said to me, honey, guilt is the mother's lot. And that was the first piece of parenting advice that I got on my first day of parenting. And it's
in your
so
first
true.
minute of parenting.
In my
more
first
like.
minute of
There's
parenting.
just so
See,
much,
there is-
so much that you're going through in that moment. It's all consuming. You cannot be attuned to this little thing that you then have to look after.
But
Yeah, like this, it's just such a surreal experience, right? It's like, and I think some people just have a euphoric surreal experience, and some people just have,
Actually,
oh my God, oh
Sanjana,
my God,
not
oh my
at
God.
all. I think I've heard, I was just sharing with Gayeti and Ravneet before you reached, that I've heard more mums than less, talking exactly like you and saying, I feel guilty that I felt indifferent.
But I think it's okay it's okay if it takes you a few days, a few weeks to fall crazily in love with this person that has come out of you.
But I think
you
that's
know?
that's where we've got it wrong, because that thing, that ball of biology is not yet a person.
I agree.
They do
It's
not
like
communicate back
it
to
is
you.
a
You
ball
keep
of biology.
giving.
Yeah.
And
Ball of biology that you grew in your own body.
yeah, when I studied at the Anna Freud Center, as part of any psychoanalytic program, but that one specifically is, we have something called an infant observation, right? Where you have to, as a student, walk the streets of London and find a pregnant mother who will trust you enough to let her into your house, and then observe her and her baby interact for an hour every week, right? And it was the most life-changing experience of my life, because you see that ball of biology across a year become psychology, like become a mind. And similar to what Sanjana said, the fact is that, it takes time. It takes time to, even Ravneet, what you're saying, it takes time to relate for you to relate to that baby and say, oh, so this is what this cry means, this is
Yeah.
what this expression means. And it's all built, and then of course as the child begins to become aware of you, I mean, in the beginning, for example, the baby thinks you're part of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no understanding that you and I are not separate, it's all one. And
Yeah.
from that the mind begins to emerge. And in the beginning the mother is just giving, and the balance is just so off, because the point is who's giving the mother.
Yeah.
You understand?
Ugh,
And
who is giving the mother?
so the culture, that's what I meant when I said the village is sick, because if nobody is taking care of the mother, no one's acknowledging her difficult feelings to do with the fact that I don't love this baby all the time. I like you said, I felt resentful, and that's normal and it's valid. And you're gonna sometimes have strong feelings of like, I don't want to look up. I'm tired. I'm so tired and I'm so hangry myself. You can keep crying.
This is another thing that I feel we don't discuss often enough. It's like, it's okay to have negative feelings about your child. Like, and even admitting it feels like a
Yeah.
crime. But it is, right? Like I have negative feelings about all my relationships every once in a while.
And that's
right? Like,
normal.
and it is normal, but somehow that like kid relationship is so sacred that you're not supposed to, like, even in moms groups. Well, I guess in the moms groups you can vent about your child, but if I see a childless friend and I'm with my partner and we're talking about it and I'm like, oh, Amira was being such a demon today, I can see my husband getting like a little bit uncomfortable. Because even though it's true, it's like we're not supposed to say that
it.
out loud.
Yeah.
Right? But why not? When you say something out loud, all it does is validate somebody else's feeling.
Absolutely. It's the permission, it's implicit permission that
Exactly. Which is
I
why
feel you.
this conversation is so important, because people need to know that it's okay, especially for hearing it from a clinician. Like, you have to understand that it is okay to do all of these things and to have the normal gamut of feelings that you would have for any other situation. when
And
it comes to
also
kids.
sometimes, I mean, I had such a powerful young mom say to me a few days ago, no one prepped me for everything I had to give up for this child.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing, right?
That doesn't mean I don't love him. I love him.
Yeah.
But I gave up my sex life.
Yeah.
I gave up work.
My body.
I gave up my body. I have been sick ever since. It's predisposed me to so many medical vulnerabilities.
Half my hair fell out, like.
And you're the only one who lets me say, you know what, this sucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And still hold that deep love for your child. They're not
Yeah.
two things that have to exist
One
in
doesn't
isolation.
cancel the other out.
Not at all. Yeah.
I think it's so interesting you say that, because based on just hearing you guys, I'm not a mom, right? And I'm nowhere close to being a mom. And I also know of a lot of couples who are actually choosing or opting not to become biological parents.
For sure.
right? And even there, the women are made to feel guilty. Does that make sense? It's like an anticipation of what could have been. So there is a flip side to it as well. But maybe I think it's because there's so much mom guilt and there's so much noise around the concept of parenting today. And most of the noise is for women to take in. It's not for men, like you said. That a lot of I think it's directing a lot of decision making for people where it's just too scary and we won't go there.
says you don't look like a dad.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what I'm saying. The noise is for women.
Last time you heard anyone say this sentence?
People say to Ditya all the time, people who know him, they're like, we can't
Oh, yeah.
believe
That
you're
I
a
would-
dad.
I can do the
It's
same
just the
way,
cultural
right?
narratives are very different. The way we treat men and women are just very different.
But
And that is where the mom guilt essentially comes from, right? It's like how men are treated versus how women are treated,
Yeah.
which I think for me, I was already perceived as an angry feminist before I had a baby, but just seeing the stark differences between how men and women are
Amplified.
treated in parenting situations made me so much angrier, because I thought for some reason that I would be exempt from this narrative, right? Like, my husband is amazing. He is amazing. It's not his fault that he doesn't experience what I experience.
Yeah.
That is the fault of the situation that we find ourselves in. So then the real question about, like, the point of having this conversation is, how do we overcome
Change.
that?
Yes.
Change, though, I don't know, like, how can I change? Like, listen,
Yeah.
I've been trying to break the patriarchy forever. Toot ही नहीं रहा, like, what do I do?
Nahi tootega. It won't break.
It won't, right? And that's fine.
It's
And,
going to take a long time.
and
in
a
this
lot of
country.
us act in line with the patriarchy. A lot of us make decisions that could be seen as patriarchal decisions. That's fine, right? Like, we have to all survive and thrive in the system as it is. And so how do we keep that in mind?
I think it would be balance. Like the balance between the couple is what is going to determine how the next generation, which is your children, are going to take this forward. Because systems don't change overnight.
Yeah.
Systems change over generations. And the very fact that you're talking about it, and when your daughter grows up and she's going to watch you, she's going to internalize that, because whether you like it or not, she's your role model anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're her role model
Yeah.
anyway, right? So she is going to internalize it, and then she's going to pick a partner, hopefully, who mirrors everything that you talk about, everything that hopefully her father models for her,
Yeah.
and maybe even better.
Yeah.
So that's the only way to overcome it. And to keep talking about it and to keep voicing it and supporting each other, because you can't fight it any other way.
But a little bit, I mean, I just want to also point out that a little bit of guilt is not even a bad thing. Just the same way a little bit of stress isn't a
Guilt
bad
is a
thing.
great thing.
Guilt
It's
makes
adaptive.
you, it makes you a better parent, right? Like if I wasn't guilty, then I wouldn't like rush back home after this to my children.
Yeah.
And okay, fine, I haven't spent this part of the day with them, but that like 4 or 5 hours that I'm going to get before bedtime, that matters to them.
Yeah.
So that it's that guilt that's that's ensuring that I'm not going out after this. I'm not doing something else. Though if I did, fine, I'm allowed to. I might need it for me. But that guilt is playing a role in me being present for them. So where is the guilt optimal and where is it too much?
I think guilt is adaptive because it makes us repair. It's where regret comes from. It makes us do something differently. I think the problem, or when it becomes a problem, is when it begins to roll into and tend towards shame, like I said, because guilt is, I did a bad thing. I have to do something to change it.
Yeah.
I am not the bad thing. Shame is, I am the bad thing.
Mm.
And then that is all consuming, and that can take you down in ways which then can take a lot of time and a lot of work to get out of. So I think my concern with the current noise around, in this changing patriarchy, if we may call it, is that we are, of course, a particular kind of woman that is talking about mom guilt, but there are very regular moms out there who don't have a choice,
Yeah.
who have to go to work because either their husbands are, of course, enjoying being men but still not working, for example, and they're running the house. So they're nurturers. They are, for example, I met a wonderful mom at a bank, and she was doing my bank work, and she was like, "Oh, you're a child psychotherapist," and then they start talking, about child development, and then she's like, "Yeah, I don't see my child. She's at school, and then by the time I go home, she's tired. So we pretty much meet only for dinner." Can you imagine how that guilt is just carried into shame into every aspect of that woman's life?
Yeah, like I always say, the people like our nannies, like the ones who have their own children, what does it take to give up raising your own children to come raise ours? You
yeah.
know, I mean that plays on my mind a lot. In terms of like just their reality. So
And that's
absolutely.
pathological. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we're like in like the 0.001% of women of privilege in this country, right?
Yes.
And so we can have these kinds of conversations. For other people, it's not even a thought,
choice, yeah.
But that's why we have to also like, I don't want to squander my privilege. This is what I
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
people all
I
the
agree.
time. When
I
people tell
agree.
me, "Oh, but you're so privileged," I'm like 100,000%. In
Yeah.
many ways, I am a very privileged person, but I don't want to squander my privilege by not talking about the issues that need to be talked about when it comes to privilege. Like this is a matter of privilege, right? We can even the
I agree.
idea of mom guilt and like what can we do to repair mom guilt is
It's a
not
privileged conversation.
it's not something that most women can even. It's not a conversation that most women can even have because they
They don't have a voice.
don't have a voice. They don't have the time, the free space in their
Yes.
mind to think about anything other than the guilt that they're already thinking about or the job that needs to get done,
No, and the priority is more, it's easier, right? They've given up raising their kids because they need to earn to provide for their kids. And there is a psychological toll for that, but it's not necessarily framed as guilt.
Yeah.
It's framed as, in Hindi, the word is majburi, right? Like majburi is like, that's what they say, this is our majburi. Like this is our burden or it's our
Yes, because
obligation.
biological
Yeah,
needs
compulsion.
above
compulsion.
psychological needs. Always. Biological needs is survival.
Survival.
So emotional
like
needs
the
get
needs
compromised.
hierarchy,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Like
yes.
if you're at the like,
Yeah.
we're having a very self-actualized conversation
Yes.
here. But if you're not able to meet those other needs, for not just yourself, but for your family, then that's a whole other level of not even having the freedom to think about this, right? And yeah, so I mean, my heart, my love goes out to every mom that's out there. And I think one of the dangers when we talk about society changing is that what I see is that women are now in the workforce. And so that part of it has changed, right? Like women are given that access, but the housework, the
It's
raising
still-
of the
It's like do
child,
everything and this.
that has not changed.
Yeah.
So if you're going to change, like, of course, we change the one part of it that doesn't really affect the men as much.
But I think we also need to change the way we bring up our men.
Yeah,
The
for
way we
sure.
raise
That's the other
100%.
the way
That's
we
the other
raise our
component.
sons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and a lot of change could stem from that.
And that could also be to do with giving them certain so-called emotional privileges which women are allowed, which is talk about your feelings. You should be allowed to be a stay-home dad if you want to be, without having to face
Yeah.
the world in terms of, oh my God, you're something small. You're invisible.
And every weekend every time you step into this house, we are 50-50 parents in this
Yes.
situation. Okay. Just because you work on the week and I don't work on the week doesn't mean that the weekends are your time off. Why should they not be my time off as well? Right. So this idea, I think like this is radical to people. When I
But
tell people,
Sanjana, it's radical also because you're in a unique situation where you have a partner that is actually willing to hear it and
Yeah.
willing to
Yes.
meet
but
you on it.
but I've had to fight him to get
Yeah.
him there, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not even that. It wasn't even a fight. Like, honestly, I have a great husband, and like I'm free to sit here and talk about our relationship because he's been amazing. But the thing is, nobody asked him. Nobody questions the status quo. Nobody asks meaningful Socratic questions
Yes.
to get a conversation going, right? Where I'm like, okay, but do you not think that I work all day? And he's like, no, definitely you work all. Like, you have to have that conversation in order to help men unlearn,
Yeah.
right? Because what they've learned is I work, you stay at home, I make the money, I provide for the family. No, every cent, every pesa that enters that house, whether it's me or whether it's you, is our community.
Yeah.
money.
It's because we're a team.
And I think it's
Yeah.
very
You are
Agreed.
able to go out
Yeah.
there and earn that money because I'm
I'm
here
holding
Yes.
fort.
100%.
I'm
making
holding
sure your
fort.
house is
Yeah.
running, making sure your
Yes.
child is taken care of, right? And again, that's a radical concept.
and
to
that's
most
labor,
people.
which we don't recognize as labor.
Yeah.
Like parenting, what you do is labor. It's a
more
lot
than
of
a
emotional
full-time
labor.
job.
It's fully labor.
But yes, no one wants to put that word to it.
Okay, but guys, now I really want to address, like, I really want to talk about parenting in the digital age, and I'm just dying to chat with Sanjana about this. Because, so, I'll tell you what, Sanjana, one of the reasons why the three of us ended up starting this podcast was that, there's so much information on the internet, and everybody enjoys sending each other these reels on parenting and whatnot, but there's not enough, like, Indian context, right? So I'm just like, okay, this is a Western way of trying to solve this problem, but I don't know if it's applying enough to me. So we're all trying in our own ways, asking each other that, okay, maybe if we do it this way, it'll work for us, right? Because we all also live a little bit differently, right? That's how the Indian setup is. So that's kind of why we started this podcast. And so, but actually, what I really want to talk to you about is that one of the things that I really enjoy about your page when I follow you, other than I started following you for your fashion because I still remember
Thank you.
your wedding outfit very, very vividly, thinking, wow, that's a cool look, and you made it to the BBC.
Yeah, I did.
So I remember your wedding outfit vividly. While I started following you for fashion, I stayed because of your honesty about motherhood. That's why I stayed on as your audience,
Yeah.
because you're so honest about your experiences with Amira and how you're feeling and what she's up to. But now here's my question, and there's a very heated debate about this online. And I thought that you would be the perfect person to ask this question, is that there is this, like, you're putting your kid on social media,
Yeah.
right? Now, this heated debate that is living online is that they're too little to give consent or
Yeah.
anything like that.
For
First part is that. And the second part is that when they're a little bit older, that what if they grow up and they're like, why did my mom post so much of my life online? I'm so pissed off about it.
For sure.
So what I'd love to hear from you, because if I know a little bit of you, is that I feel like these are things you have thought
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
So
Believe me,
I-
anything you
yeah.
can think of, girl, I've thought through. My mind is just like constantly. I'm a thinker. I am what
Yeah.
men would call an overthinker. And what I call maybe just a regular thinker.
Yeah, I mean, what most people call overthinking, I call thinking and
Thinking.
reflecting.
I did a reel about this actually, where I was like, maybe women aren't overthinkers and men are just underthinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're
I
just
think
reflecting.
But it's
Yeah.
just like the standard is set by men. Anyway, back to the actual, back to the question. Wow, can really get off topic. But yes, it is definitely a struggle trying to figure out my work, and especially because, like you, a lot of people come to my page for honesty and for the reality of my situation. Right?
Yeah.
Now, the problem is that the reality of my situation is 80% I'm with my kid.
Yeah.
So then if I don't post about that, I also feel like I'm doing a disservice to my agreement that I've made with the people that follow me, which is that I will provide, not I will provide, but it is that I will post about my life. This is my authentic life, right?
Yeah.
When Amira was a little chotu, not like whatever, just
Yeah.
a thing, blob, I used to post her a lot more than I do now. And I think like once she became more of a sentient being and she developed her own personality, her own thoughts, I have pulled back.
Yeah.
Because, and again, there's so many aspects to this, right? There's a safety issue.
Yeah.
There's a safety issue in me. So unfortunately, I was born with breasts. And this seems to be a very, unless it's in the breastfeeding context, which by the way didn't work for me for all of this show. Where was the functionality, man? But all of this plays a factor in how I decide to post Amira online, because I post her in my stories more,
Yeah.
and here and there, like she's incidentally now in my content. She's definitely not the focus.
Yeah.
I definitely don't
Yeah.
believe that kids should be like, you should be doing like a Dear Diary moment of your kids
No,
every
100%.
single day, right?
Yeah.
Like there is I am mindful of her privacy. I understand that she can't give consent.
Yeah.
And because she sees what I do, because I'm her role model, she wants to be in front of the
Yeah,
camera,
of
right? Because she's with
course.
me all the time when
As
I'm
does Ayla.
Yeah. Yeah.
when I'm recording stuff, she's there with me. So then she'll
Yeah.
come in the
It's
car,
exciting
you know,
for
and,
them, of
and then she's
course.
like, "Hi, today's outfit. I'm wearing this
It's very
bag."
cute.
And it's
That's
very
But
cute.
God,
And I do
I
post-
think you brought up such a, I mean, I didn't think of it, but just the dimension of thought where you said that even this is another thing added to mums, you know?
Yeah, and in a
Again,
way-
we won't say the same thing to dads if they post their children.
in a way, yeah, that's so sweet of them. In a way, it's so, in a way, it is victim shaming, right? To
Yeah.
blame me or my daughter for somebody else's
Sick-minded.
Exactly.
sick-mind and
Yeah.
actions,
And I think
right?
that's a problem in this country and this culture. Again, it's also, it's another manifestation of the same thing, that you should be changing your clothes, they should not be changing their.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you do, right? You take those safety measures. It's there, but again, you're putting this on me, or you're making me feel like shit when it's this other person's disgusting sick mind that is the actual problem. So there's that dimension to it. There's just general privacy. Yeah, she might grow up and be like, why did
Why,
you post
Mom?
this
Yeah,
on the internet?
yeah.
And so I am mindful of that. So I do try to just keep her a little bit incidental, but also share. And so, this is something that now that she's growing up, I think about a lot more, is because again, she has this personality. She is her own person. I don't want to post her so much. Like
Yeah.
I tell her, I try to make her understand that this is what's happening, but she's 3 years old. She doesn't
Yeah, of
understand that
course.
hundreds of thousands of people potentially could see this content.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know that number. She counts to 10 and
Yeah.
she's done, you know? So she doesn't know. She doesn't understand scale. And so I am becoming more and more mindful of not posting her online. But I will continue. And so the way that I compensate for that is, you know, now I can post about motherhood
Yeah.
without posting about Amira.
Yeah. So
I can
you've
bring her
shifted
up.
the lens.
Yeah, the lens for me now is how, like, I want to talk about the experience of being a mom, which is still
Yeah.
about me.
Yeah.
And not have it be so like, oh, my baby's so cute, which she is. And, you know, I will, like, I post cute pictures of her.
No, of course you do. And I do think you do it in a balanced way. And, you know, I
Thank
just.
you, that means so much. I just needed one person to say that to me, basically.
No, I do think you do it in a balanced way, but I think that there's just so much conversation about this online. So I figured that you have thought it through, which you have, right?
For sure.
So,
And there are some parents who are like, no, like absolutely not posting my child is the only way that I can be assured that they're safe. And that's perfectly fine with me.
yeah.
It's just like, again, like, don't be
guys,
shaming.
but you know what? You know what I want to say? I completely understand the whole concept of the evil eye or nazar, and they don't want their children. And then there's a safety angle also, that they don't want their children's photos online. let me tell you that this is across most segments of society. Like, you don't have to be super privileged, but your child is at a birthday party now. Even schools, during admission forms and all, they ask you that we may take some class photos and put it up on our website. We may send out a newsletter. Is that okay with you? They ask you for consent.
Yeah.
Schools ask you for that, that your child's photo might get used like that. That's one off. But mostly, if they're at a birthday party, they're at a play date, if you've sent your child, if a parent has sent their child with a nanny, they're recording that child to send to that person's parents, right? To send to that child's parents. The other child is playing in the background. There is information about the other child going out to somebody else too, right?
So that is one thing that I am extremely mindful of. If I can
Yeah.
help it, I will not post somebody else's child.
That I
Like,
agree,
I
but
can
I'm
only
saying
assume the
something
risk
else.
for
but
my
that's
own kid.
exactly what I'm trying to explain to you. The point I'm trying to make is that I understand people holding back their own child's information, but I think that everyone needs to think a little bit more, that if you think that your child's face is not out there
Yeah.
in the digital universe, you are highly mistaken.
That's the other thing.
People are taking photos and videos left, right, and center. They may not be using it in an incorrect
Yeah.
manner. Thank God for that. But it is out there.
But guys, posting your child or not posting your child is a personal choice, right?
Yes,
and I
yes,
think
100%.
that's something important that you said is like, you don't want to do it or you want to do it. No judgment, right?
Yeah.
If I want to do it, then don't shame me.
Yes.
It is. I
yes.
mean, at the end of the day, like it's my
Free will.
child. And yes, my child might grow up and see, Mama, why did you do it?
But
But
that's
that's a
between-
conversation
yeah.
between you and your child.
Yeah.
Also,
you know?
your child is going to discuss you in therapy no matter what you do.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
made my
they
peace
should.
with
It's
that.
Just that what
I've just
and they
made my
should.
peace
Yes,
with
they
that.
should.
She
Yeah.
has
not,
to.
You are a flawed person. Every mom is flawed. Like, we're made out to be like, oh, we have to be these superhuman things, but that's not the case. The reality is that every once in a while you might snap, you might, say something that then you realize 20 years down the line has had a big impact on your kid.
Yes.
Like, it could be anything. So it's okay. You don't have to live by the grade that your child gives you in their mind, And ultimately, they should have things to talk about in therapy, which is
If
a
you've
very
done it
healthy
right.
process. Yeah.
I think
And-
I'm going to say there should be no grade. Parenting is not about getting it right. It's about getting it good enough. Well
Yeah.
enough.
But like,
Doing it well enough.
if someone is like, oh, they're going to bring this up, they're going to be upset and look back, I'm like, yeah, your child is going to be upset with you for being 100 different things.
Also,
Yeah.
you are supposed to be, I mean, the job of a parent is not to make their child happy.
Yeah.
It is to parent them. It is
Yeah.
to guide them. It is to lead them into you're the map into a world which they don't understand.
For sure.
So
And the
you are
world is
supposed to
not kind.
frustrate them. You are supposed to disappoint them, because if not, you're doing something wrong. They're not going to grow up in their mind.
And how will they build any kind of resilience,
Yeah.
great understanding, and what about survival skills?
And this is a serious problem in the new parents. I mean, that I
Yeah,
work
we
with,
have to-
that
like
where they're
teachers-
so scared to
Yeah.
frustrate their children and to disappoint their children. So yeah, well said.
I think
Gonna happen.
Yeah, being a parent, wow, this conversation itself is like, wow, there's so much here to just be like having this such an in-depth discussion about just one little thing, right? Is like, parenting is, I think we often like see the forest but don't appreciate the trees of it, which is like, there's this whole picture of parenting. Don't take just one little thing, like, oh, like sharing your kid online.
Yeah.
Something bad could happen. I can't deny that.
But
something bad could happen in
you're walking down the street
Yes,
also, yeah.
yes.
Like, I know what you mean.
and so yeah, I think we should just stop as much as
Micro-zooming.
possible not
Yes.
shaming people.
Yes.
But that's part
I
of
mean,
it
the
for
only
some
thing that is
reason.
a
Yeah.
concern for me in that sense is like, everybody has a right to privacy, including children.
Yes.
So until they're able and at that age of consent where they can understand privacy and can give that consent to privacy, you have to be a little bit more mindful about what you post. Of course, like you can post your child. I mean, in my opinion, you can post your child, but it doesn't have to be overly personal and everything about their life. Then I will judge you a little bit.
For adding that in. But yeah, there is like this constant, like, we have this community where we are all very supportive of each other's moms, but there is a lot of judgment that is there, like this one's child hits and this one's child does that and this mother is not available. There is that
A lot,
under
oh my
layer
God.
of judgment.
We need to stop.
We need to stop. Yeah. 100%.
Especially as moms, like it's just like we are, again, parenting doesn't exist in a vacuum. We parent a lot in the same way as we live our lives. And
Yeah.
we are just, all human beings are judgy and a little bit gossipy and like whatever. And I think there's a line that we have to try and like consciously draw when it comes to children or parenting. And this
Yeah.
is something that I will never relent on. I will never judge another parent for the way that their kid is behaving, but for sure.
Yeah,
That
there's
has
no
nothing to
point.
do with
Yeah,
them.
it's got nothing to do with
But guys,
them. Or
it's
You got
changing.
lucky that
Yeah.
your child has this temperament
Yeah,
today, right? It's a good
absolutely.
day.
It's got nothing to
A
do
good
with
day is a
you.
good day and a
yeah.
bad day is a bad day. And there's, you know, like I know kids like that, you know, went through a hitting phase, whatever. I'm like, it's not like the mom and dad are going home and slapping each other.
Yeah.
Guys, my son, I mean, me and Aditya, you know us, we're very like peaceful people. My
Yeah.
daughter is a verbal, angry person, but verbal and also
Love that for
incredibly
her.
sensitive. Yeah, but fiery. But my son hits everybody.
You've been
He just
talking about
hits everyone. And I'm like, how do I deal with it?
17 months
And I'm like,
old,
it's okay.
he's at
Gayeti.
the-
Like,
Yeah.
it's just a.
But
Boys have so much.
he's going to
energy.
go to school and I'm going to get that call. And then the other mothers are going to be like, her son hits. And it's inevitable. It's happening. I'm like, fine.
But that's pop psychology. No, my God, he's hitting, so something's happening at
at
home.
home, yeah.
But I
I
guess
mean-
this is a really important point. It's like we can talk all we want to about mom guilt. What can we actually do to make it better? And I
Yeah.
think this is one of the things. It's like
100%.
as moms, especially, or as you know,
Psychotherapy.
psychotherapists, we can stop judging other people, or at least be cognizant of the fact that we're doing it and try to rewire that part of ourselves a little bit more.
And
you know?
a way to do that is to recognize that, like, when you, unless you're in those shoes, you are kind of like thinking that, okay, I would never do this. Like before becoming a parent, I would say things like, oh, I'd never give my child a phone. I've given my kid a phone like on multiple occasions just to get that 5 minutes to make a phone call or
Yeah.
like to like do something else. Or that I'll never travel with a nanny. Like what kind of parent travels with a nanny? But I think what Sanjana is saying is important. Like and look, we all do it. We all judge whether we like it or not. And it's human nature, right?
Yeah.
Like it is human nature
I
to
think you
judge.
judge
It's
yourselves
part-
also is
you
what I was
judge
gonna say.
yourself.
That's
You're
where
going to
mom guilt
judge.
comes from, right?
Yes.
Judging yourself.
But you can be a little bit more empathetic and just reflect on the fact that, okay, when I wasn't in this situation, I also judged this situation. And now that I'm in it, I recognize the fact that like that judgment was perhaps misplaced.
Yeah.
And we've all done that. Like before I was a parent, I have judged ways people have parented. Then when I was in that, like screen time is such a good example. I've
Yeah.
literally said, I'll never give my child a screen. What's wrong with parents? And like, I mean, within the first few months, like I hate to admit it, but my kid on moment, like there were times where she was just given a screen, of course, regulated. And I have like a lot of thoughts on it. Perhaps one day we'll do an episode on screen time. But my point is, look, we're all going to make mistakes. Judgment, where even though it's normal, it can like be approached with a little bit more kindness and empathy.
Yeah.
And that's where some change can come from. Because the mum guilt is sadly not going anywhere while we're like mums
It's
to young
not.
children.
So actually, when I was listening to your example, Ravneet, I thought of a family I work with, and I do a lot of parent work.
Yeah.
In child psychotherapy, in fact, the child is never the problem; it's the parents, right? And initially, I find myself constantly, trying to, when you're building a rapport, when you're really letting the parents know that I'm here to support you. I'm on your side. I'm not against you, because the defenses are so high. Why? Because there is an anticipation of being blamed.
Of course.
Yeah.
And parents are just so enmeshed with the idea that their child is them and they are the child, and that everything that that child does is on them. And I have to remind them, I am not here. None of it is coming out of either criticism or judgment. I'm simply here to understand with you. Why is sometimes children just do things because
Yeah.
they're children.
Yeah.
Maybe it
of
was fun
course.
to take
Or,
on.
or it could be something deeper even,
Yes,
for example.
we can
but
look at it
maybe
together.
this is the correct, like there is no, see, when you judge someone, what you're saying is, I know the correct way to deal with this.
Yeah,
But
correct.
the thing is, we don't know, right? And that's
Yeah.
it. Like maybe that mom has tried something else before and it didn't work for her, or maybe. So that's how I try to, when I see other parents, not my circus, not my monkey. I will,
Yeah.
for me, moms especially, I want to be available to moms. So later I might go to a parent and be like, hey, like that seemed like a thing. Like what's
Are
up?
you okay?
Are
Yeah.
you okay?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
or what can I do to help? Or how can I encourage this parent to not feel terrible about this
Yeah, yeah.
incident that has
Yeah.
happened? So yeah, I mean that's the thing, is like you just don't know.
Yeah, you have to just really approach. You have to teach
Kids are little
parents
shit sometimes,
compassion. You
so-
have to teach
They are.
parents.
They really are. Not as they should be.
Yeah.
And
You
they
know,
can,
that's also
they can
developmental.
they can drive you cuckoo. Like they
Yeah.
can really drive you cuckoo, and it's okay to say, "Oh my God, like I'm at my wit's end." You
No,
know,
guys, and it is temperamental. I'm a parent to two very different children. Like the fact that like you can judge my parenting by how one behaves and how the other behaves, you cannot.
Yeah.
Like Isla is like a well-behaved, knows how to say the right things, knows how to like
She's a good
turn
girl.
on the charm. Like she knows
She's the
it.
best, oh my God, she's so fun.
Right? She is. And she's just a personable person, and you'd be like, okay, great mom. And in fact, you've messaged me so many times, you're a great mom, and I love Isla and whatnot. So many people
I would
have.
equally message you the great mom part for hanging out with
I'm
Ace
waiting. I'm
also.
waiting for that message, guys.
I haven't hung out with him enough. I swear.
But
that's
he's
what
a
it is.
different baby, and he's just feisty. He's like breaking things down. He's like punching things. It's just a
But
different
if I
dynamic.
may, what makes you a great mom isn't the way that your child behaves. It's that you give your child the freedom to be themselves
100%.
no matter what. And that's what I
Exactly.
mean when I say you've obviously created a space where, you know, you say like Isla is the perfect, you know, whatever, not perfect, but is like this amazing and like personable child. But for some people, that would be too much
Yeah.
for
Yes.
a young girl,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But you are accepting her
Absolutely.
because
And
that's who
celebrating
you
that
are,
part
and
of
you,
her.
you allow her to be this outgoing, feisty person, just like you allow your son to go through whatever he needs
whatever
to go
he's
through
going
right
through.
now, right?
But that's exactly the point that I'm making. Like sometimes it is the child's temperament and not just your parenting. And
100%.
you have to.
That I
yeah.
never. That's what I'm saying is like, like some parents are like, "Ooh, well, this kid did this and my child doesn't do this." I'm like, you got so lucky, dude. Like you, I'm sure that more than 90% of it is
Yeah.
pure luck.
Luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you have this child that has this specific temperament. Everybody has their own personality. Some people are easier to deal with. I am not one of the easier people myself. But that doesn't mean that I don't have my own value and like,
Yeah.
you know, that my parents didn't struggle in a different way than some other parents did with me. And it had nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And,
then-
that's the thing. Most siblings, you know, are very different people.
Yes,
Very
And I
different.
think that's such an
Yes.
important point to whoever's watching, that parents carry this sense of blame and responsibility. I think it's over responsibility. It's overestimation of your own control and your own role over your child's development. You have a very big role, but some of it is just genetics. It's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just
some of it is
biology.
just who they are, and that was the
They
point we
are.
make. Like your children are not an extension of you; they
Yeah.
are who they are.
But to get back to the point of mom guilt, I will say is that now there's just too much information out there, right? On what the right way of parent. And that's the other thing is like, how can we even pretend that there's a blueprint to parenting when every child is so unique and so different? And that is the issue, is that now you see all of this, like whatever. There's one article in the New York Times about how being a tiger parent or helicopter mom is terrible. The next day, it will be gentle parent, the dangers of
Yeah.
gentle
Yes.
parenting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, so what the hell am
Should
I
I do?
supposed to do?
Yeah.
And that's, we are looking for a blueprint to something that
There is no one size
it's
fits all.
not, yeah, there's no structure to it. But we want, obviously, like we seek information, right? Especially as moms. Oh my God, like you stay up until 3 a.m. Googling the minutia
Yeah.
of your child's life.
Yeah.
And I think this has become a burden on us because then we think, oh, this is the best way to do something. And oh shit, I didn't handle this in this way. Like I will share this now, and I hope that Amira doesn't kill me for this later. There's a situation where I've just let it ride out. Like I've let it go with the flow, right? But then somebody one time second guesses you, and now you're going down this Google rabbit hole of like, oh my God, did I do the right thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Oh my God, I botched this. Her life is over. You know, like it's
Oh
I've
my
somehow
God.
forever altered my child in a negative way because I didn't respond to this one situation.
And it's 1
correctly.
out of 10 interactions with her.
Yeah.
And you will micro zoom on.
Exactly. And it's like the availability of information at our fingertips now. Like, even when my mom sees our generation, she's like, what's wrong with you people? She's like, get off your Google, stop overthinking
And just
every
be.
little thing.
Yes.
And this is the way my mom said it. She was like, in my generation, we just got on with it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we don't just get on with it.
No, we don't,
anymore.
because of circumstance, of information at our fingertips. And this is, so we shot another episode recently that discussed exactly this point. Like, why are parents so anxious?
Yeah.
That's because of the amount of information we have, how like the consumer industry around parenting and children is structured.
Yeah.
You have no opportunity to not be anxious. It's just being fed to you from everywhere.
Yeah.
But on that very anxious and very sort of like normalizing mom guilt note, we're going to do a little mum guilt bingo, which means that like
Oh.
you're just going to ask us a question, and if like we felt that kind of like mum guilt, then we just say yes.
Done.
And I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not the only one saying yes on most of these.
Okay, let's go. Best bedtime.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
How do you feel about it? I want one feeling word each.
Fine.
Yeah,
Good for
honestly,
you.
I don't do bedtime. Sukrit does.
Oh, so
So I'm okay.
okay.
I actually have to say that I don't really feel that much mom guilt because I'm like, I've devoted so much of my life to this thing. How can I sit here and feel constantly guilty about so many things? Like, I feel, if there's one thing I feel confident about, actually, I feel confident about a lot of things. It's not true, but I feel confident in I am available to my child. In the level,
Presence.
present for my child. And like, we have a very good, secure attachment situation going on. So, bedtime, I'm like, fine.
It's fine.
It's okay. Let it go.
Okay, so I'm adding a therapist element to it,
Okay.
that you say yes, no, or whatever, and then you have to add one feeling word.
Word. Okay, okay.
Because I think in feelings.
Okay.
Okay. Gave screen time to finish a call.
I just did that yesterday when we were talking as
Yeah.
well. I actually even gave like candy. I was like, okay, go eat a chocolate. Leave me alone for 5 minutes.
And then,
Oops.
I haven't done that, but I would do it. I mean, I'm not above it for sure.
feelings, guys.
I think again, fine. Like,
Fine is not a feeling.
in becoming so about what's best for the child, we have taken a step away from what is
Reality?
good for us.
Yeah.
Which brings me
What
to the
is
next
good
question, and
for
it's
parents?
brilliant because I hope you guys give the right answer.
Oh no.
Choose self-care over playtime.
yeah.
You should be choosing
Yeah,
self-care
yeah,
over playtime.
yeah.
I mean, Gloria talked about the bartan, right?
Yeah.
That if your bartan is empty, how will you ever pour into
Yeah,
your child?
for sure.
You can't pour from an empty cup ever.
I think we're all good at that, at least to
Yeah,
some degree.
yeah.
I mean, we
Give-
also have nannies though, you know? So I think also the dimension of this conversation is really different because we have childcare and a support system.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have that, maybe I would feel guiltier about
Yeah.
it. But I know that my child is with a person
Looked
that
after
they
and well
looked after and well looked after, well loved.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yes.
Gave candy or chocolate as a bribe.
Me, I've done it.
100%.
I've done it.
I want to know.
100%.
I did it today, sister. What do you mean?
I did. Sukrit gave it when as soon as Sabar opened his eyes. Because he was like, it's because this was Sukrit feeling guilty because he hadn't seen him 2 nights in a row because he came home at 12:30 from work and Sabar was asleep. Opened his eyes. He said, Papa, it's Saturday. Half an eye was open and there was a giant bar of chocolate. And before I could look around, half of it was consumed. Because it was Saturday.
but that's good because that's not a bribe, you know.
Yeah, that was
That's
just out of like
that's
the-
just a gift.
That
Also,
was a bribe.
It's,
That
it's
was-
not every day, right? It's not every day that you
Girl,
are bribing.
sometimes it's every
No,
day.
no.
Sometimes it's like, here's you. You can have this gummy bear when you finish getting dressed. You know.
Yeah.
Like today, I was like,
That's an incentive. That's not a bribe.
I do.
There's
Nanki's-
a fine line between an incentive and a bribe. They're pretty much the same thing, but yes, you use it strategically.
So
Like if I really need to get something done, I know it's going to work. It's a shortcut. Yes, there have been moments. It's been done.
my cousin taught me this, that there's this thing called when then if then, which is like, so when my first strategy with Amira is when you get dressed and when you do all of this, then
This will happen.
reward. Then
Yeah.
then you can have a treat. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work, then you go to if you don't do these things, that treat is not coming. And I feel like with her, that's like kind of work. But just because you say it in a different way doesn't mean it's not a bribe.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a bribe.
Fair.
Yeah,
But it
it's a
also
bribe.
gives a clear, like it
Yeah.
gives clear choices to the child. So the clarity is very
Yeah.
important because then they know.
But I will say that if you stop doing this, I'll give you this. I try not to do so much. Like if you stop
The negative part
misbehaving,
of
I'll
it,
give you
yeah.
a thing. It's more like it's a reward as opposed to like a
Punish,
stop.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Send child to school while slightly unwell.
I've not.
I've never done that.
I've not.
Yeah. And should
I mean,
not.
unless I've not known about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously.
I mean,
Nothing
it's
is more
different when they fall
important than
sick
health.
in school.
Never.
But like, if he's unwell, he is going nowhere.
But I'm going to bring in a mental health aspect to it.
Okay.
How do we define unwell when it comes to emotional health?
Ooh.
Because, for example, one of the most common concerns is school refusal. And very unfortunately, now it's not even like in the early years, primary years, also in adolescence. Because they're only DMing each other, right?
Yeah.
They don't know how to be with each other. So they don't want to go to school. Anyway, that's a separate
Well,
aspect.
luckily,
but-
all our kids love
Yeah,
school.
I was going to
Thank
say that
God.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm not sorry, but I don't have this issue as a
But-
parent. He loves
So
But
how
But
they're
we
would
also
you-
young.
we also have little kids
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, it might all
I didn't hate
change.
school.
But
when I
there,
was
there,
in high
there are a
school.
lot of
What
little
if-
kids, Sanjana, that actually like sending them
Yeah,
to
yeah.
school is a task in the
course,
morning.
of
They don't want to
course.
go.
What if your
Um,
babies came and told you, I'm having a really sad day because I had a fight with my best friend
Savar
yesterday?
has done that. He's done that, and then we've had a conversation about it, and he's actually like told me his feelings, and I've tried to sort of not validate, but I've tried to help him make sense of how he's feeling,
Yeah.
and he's felt better. And yesterday, something was happening, and he tried to, I think, kick a plant or something. And I said, look, we don't kick things like this, and you're not supposed to do this. And I was firm, so he didn't particularly like the fact that I was firm. I said you can have big feelings, but that doesn't make me wrong in this. I have to tell you when you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And he came to me 2 minutes later saying, Mama, I still have big feelings. I said, that's absolutely fine. What would you like to do about it? And he just gave me a hug. He said, I want to stay here. I have big
Sabar's the
feelings.
sweetest boy
So
also.
you also
And
let him
I-
be. You didn't try to fix his feelings, which
Good
is
job,
what is
Mom.
magical.
And he just kept hugging me, and he was like, I have big feelings. I said, it's okay. You can keep having big feelings. You can keep having big feelings. And then he was done, and then he went back to, okay, let's go and do this now.
So
Yeah.
I had something similar when Isla started big school, and Isla's a very friendly child. Like in fact, you put her in a room with any kid, all she wants
Yeah.
to do is make friends.
Or any adult.
Or
really.
any adult as well, yeah. And so the first year of school, she actually, in the car, she was like, okay, but no one played with me. So I was like, okay, I didn't really think of it, think too much of it at the time. Then when we came home, she said it again and she started crying. She was like, why do my new friends not want to play with me? And I had to explain to her, I was like, Isla, it's the first day of school. Maybe everyone is just settling in. Maybe they're not ready yet to be friends. You just need to give everyone more time. And then she was like, okay, fine.
And also, it's just fun to
within,
play by yourself.
And it's fine. I wish she understood that as well as most other children do.
Because exclusion is terrible.
But so
it
then
feels like rejection to them, right?
It wasn't exclusion. It was just that she is
Yes.
maybe a hyper confident child, for lack of a better word, and other children were still settling in. And
Yeah.
within a week, they were all friends. But she didn't need that week, and other children did need that
Yeah.
week. But I had to explain that to her. And then when she understood, I was like, keep trying, keep talking, make kids feel, be friendly, and it works out. But it does happen.
Anything you want to share?
Amira has a lot of feelings. And we, again, like in that specific situation, if she told me that she was feeling sad about something, school at that point doesn't matter anymore. It's more about,
What happened?
let's talk about these feelings, right?
Yeah.
So usually I feel like in situations where she's saying, I don't want to do something because I'm feeling this type of way, I'll be like, okay, and by the time we're done talking about the feelings, she's forgotten that she doesn't
Yeah.
want to do the thing
Yeah,
anymore,
yeah,
right? So then she'll be like, okay, off I go
Exactly.
to the thing that and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Because in that moment you convey to them, I'm here, I'm listening.
Yeah.
I see you and I'm interested enough to know what's going on in your mind, and that's all they want.
Yeah, and they're so comforted that
Exactly.
then they're willing to take on the world.
Yeah, exactly.
they have a renewed sense of like, okay, I can do this now.
Yeah. Okay, let the nanny handle a meltdown you felt you should have handled.
I actually haven't done that
Me either.
because, yeah.
Yeah, I intervene.
For me, I don't, and this is perhaps from my lack of trust. I feel like I would like to choose how I deal with a meltdown or
Yeah.
deal with the parenting aspect of raising my children. My nannies are
Supportive.
supportive, they're peripheral, and
Auxiliary,
the parenting stuff I
So,
want to
but I also do sometimes spend some time counseling my nanny.
Same.
also.
They hate it.
Yeah,
mine is-
yeah.
but mine
As in
is like
mine
a-
pretends
she-
to not hate it, but I do spend some time explaining to her that this is how it'll be better for him, it'll be better for us, and maybe you and I should both do this. Like I try to make it sound like everybody is a team,
Yeah.
so that she doesn't feel attacked. But I do spend time counseling her a little bit.
Same. I mean, I think initially, especially my nanny was like, bade alag type ke parent ho aap, like there were things that she's not used to, right?
Yeah.
Like this focus on feelings doesn't necessarily exist in every family. This idea of in a meltdown, you get down to your child's level and you
Yes.
talk to them as opposed to freaking out.
Yeah.
Is relatively new for someone that's been, she's been in the industry, she's been a nanny, and I'm so lucky that she's mine now, but she's been a nanny for
Forever.
30 years.
Yeah.
So for her, she it's all new
Blasphemous.
to her. Yeah. So I mean, it's taking a little time to adjust to that. But again, also, like, yeah, I do feel like your child can see you not intervening when they're having big feelings.
Yeah.
And for me, as someone who focuses on being available to my child in that moment, even if I'm doing something else, of course, if I'm on a call or something, I have to wait until that call is over. But like, if I see it happening, I have to be there for my child.
And that's also okay. I mean, the waiting is also part of them developing, right? They have to
Yeah.
develop. Reality is you're not going to be 24/7 available
For
to
sure.
them.
No, and if you
And of
are,
course, there must be meltdowns that are happening when I'm physically not
Yeah,
there, that the
yeah.
nanny
You're
is
not
handling
indispensable.
to the best of her abilities after being counseled on like what we think is the correct tone to take
Yeah.
on this. And that's fine. I don't sweat about that. I'm not like, oh, she had a meltdown and I wasn't there. It's more like if I see it happening, like,
What can I
mean,
do to help?
for me, I like that's my basic level of parenting. I have to
Yeah.
go over there. I have to intervene,
Got it.
I let it be if it's my husband though, because
And
then if I intervene, it's an affront to his parenting, right?
no, but
So-
sometimes when my daughter is having a meltdown, I realize that he's a more calming influence on her than I am. Like, in fact, if I'm trying to like settle her, like doesn't
think
usually
there's
go down
some
quite well.
gender play there
Yeah,
as well.
sometimes when he walks, no, and sometimes it's the reverse. Like she doesn't want him and she needs me.
Yeah.
But quite often she's
Yeah.
like calmer with him and more reactive with me. So it's just mood dependent, I
Interesting.
guess.
I'm just
No,
the
or
bad
also
cop.
what she needs in that moment.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
what you give her is not what.
She needs in that moment, yeah.
Okay, used Peppa Pig or Cocomelon as a babysitter.
No, I refuse to do that.
As a babysitter.
As in, like, been like, okay, like, you watch TV while I do something else, or like,
Well, again, like privilege, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like we have nannies, so we
have
don't have to do that.
nannies.
But
Yeah.
when I'm in the US, there's like I'm not doing it to go out and like get a blowout. I'm
Yeah.
doing it like literally. Amira was sitting there watching Miss Rachel or whatever it was, and I was doing the dishes and taking out the trash in the
Yeah.
back, right? So yeah, I mean, if you don't have
True.
childcare, it's a
Yeah.
totally different ballgame in
Yeah.
that aspect. So like, yeah, I have done it when I for 5 minutes shed the privilege of my full-time
got
childcare.
Okay, you guys are not talking about feelings, but okay. Give in to a tantrum just to keep the peace.
No, never. And
Yeah.
I'm so proud of it. Oh, I walk around like this, knowing that I don't give in to tantrums. Like,
That takes a lot.
Yeah,
because
but
first of
we-
all, I'm a drama queen. Okay, so like crying for no reason, I invented that. So I'm not moved, and my mom was like this with me, like not moved by the tears of children.
Yeah, I'm not moved.
guys, for me, I feel like I pick and choose my
Yeah.
battles. Like if it's a
Yeah.
tantrum over something that I really don't mind giving in on, sometimes I have to be like, you're not giving in because my ego is not letting me give in. And I'm like, just shut her up, give her what she wants. When it's something like I'm actually okay to concede on. If it's, of course, a rule and something I feel
Yeah, if
strongly
it's
about,
a
then no
non-negotiable,
level of
you
tears.
cannot
Yeah,
move me. But
yeah.
like Gayeti said, if it's something small and if it'll just calm him down in the
In the
moment,
moment, yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Like,
But
I think this over
I
as well.
will eventually, I will say this, I will never give her something in the heat of the tantrum. I will take the time. Once she calms down, then she can
Yeah.
have the thing. Right?
That's
it's like
That's the right way of doing it.
once I'm able to be like, okay, listen, we already talked about this. Once you're not screaming anymore, because then
Yeah.
it becomes also a reward for her calming down.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
So then
You're
it's not
regulating
yeah.
her. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
100%. You would never
Bribery
give
and
it,
regulation
Yeah,
go hand
you
in
should
hand.
never reward a child in the midst of a tantrum. But I didn't mean a full blown out tantrum. I mean like sometimes I notice
just
crankiness
for something.
that can
crankiness.
escalate to a tantrum unless I give in. And then I'm like making a calculated decision, like, okay, maybe I will just give on. Like, for some, I'll give a small example. We'd gone out for a walk and she wanted to go sit near like the gate on like these, I don't know, this kind of like bench that was there. And first I was like, no, we're not going there. And then I could see her get worked up. And then I was like, okay, what's just going to be easier in this moment? I go sit on that bench for 1 second and continue on our walk, or I make this a thing and I don't go sit on the bench and I get a big tantrum that's
Yeah.
clearly
So you have to
coming.
pick and choose your battles.
So I was like, let me just
agree.
pick and choose my battles here. We can sit on
Like,
that
this is
bench
a-
for
But
a
again,
minute.
then I feel guilty if I give in, right? So then there's that whole guilt. There's basically guilt about
Yeah,
everything.
you
guilt
feel
about
guilty if you
everything.
give in, you feel guilty if you don't give in, then you're just like,
You feel guilty if you give in to tantrums. You feel guilty if you don't give in to tantrums. You feel guilty if you work. You feel guilty if you're at home. You feel guilty if you're spending time with your kid and not actively enjoying that time, right? Like sometimes I'm like, I can't wait to get the hell out of this
But
house
then,
right now.
the
And then you
moment
feel
you're
guilty
out,
about
yeah.
that. And then the moment you're out, you feel so guilty about being out and you
or
just want
about
to
being
be
relieved that you're
Yeah.
out.
yeah, then
Yeah.
you feel guilty about being relieved. You feel guilty about enjoying your time with your friends. You feel guilty about not waking up early enough because you drank too much the night before. Or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
I
It's
mean, you
unending.
Sanjana just answered the next question. felt guilty for working and for not working enough. I think we've just
Yeah.
I think
We're
Yeah,
just
not
guilty.
working enough, right? Like,
Yeah.
am I setting the correct example for my child by not working full time and providing everything for this family in every possible way that I can? Probably.
Oh God.
So that's like, I mean, I just want, if men watch this, I just want men to understand just how much guilt we carry and how burdensome that can be on us every
Yeah.
single day. And like for women out there, I want them to know that it's normal. We are all
Yeah.
feeling this way. And like I said, it all started because as women, we are raised to second guess ourselves constantly. And once we become parents, it's also this insane biological thing, whether that's your biological child or not. The hormones that you release in being a parent, just even without the actual giving birth to the baby, are so intense. So it's like you already second guess yourself as a woman. Then you have the most intense experience of your life, hormonal and everything that you're going through. And so, of course, everything you like, if you second guess yourself about something small before, something as big as parenting, it's huge, right? You constantly second guess yourself. And then this is all exacerbated by the fact that we have access to so much information that allows you to
Yeah.
really go down the self-hating spiral of
And
mom
also,
guilt.
you are constantly, you made me think of a case. I won't go into it, but yes,
Guys,
there
we're
is-
running out of time.
Yeah,
It's been
this mom who, of course, by adoption had a child, and she's carried her guilt into her motherhood and made her life hell for that poor child, of course, because there was guilt of not having birthed the child, and then there was a constant exam that she was putting herself through. That am I a good enough mother?
Yeah.
Because the world around was constantly.
But I mean, yeah, like look at how we talk about motherhood. We focus so much on pregnancy and childbirth. And, you know, even though adoptive parents are adoptive moms are in the minority, like super tiny minority, they're still consuming that information. They're still seeing that like the pinnacle of motherhood is the beauty of the childbirth experience, you know? And
Yes.
so, yeah, I mean, we're all a part of the problem ultimately, right? Like our judgments that we put on other moms, our inability to question the status quo even before we have that baby when it comes to gender roles, it's all contributing to this eventual mom guilt that then we only are getting fucked over and have to deal with, right? So
there's no winning it. But
Compare yourself to another mom on Instagram.
100%, yes.
That makes me sad.
but I mean, short-lived. Like you compare, and then you're like, okay, fine, I'm done. with
Yeah,
it.
like what I don't really sit and compare. I don't think it's not a personality type, but no, I don't think so. I think I have like no.
Okay, last question. Bought a toy to make up for being away.
Yes,
For sure.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. But honestly, when I was a child and my parents were away, the only thing I would really look forward to is
the,
what toys they were going to
present,
bring
yeah,
me.
of course. Like that was the thing that where are you? When are you coming
When-
back and open
What are you
that
bringing
bag?
with you?
When my dad stopped bringing me toys is also something that I've discussed in therapy. Like that's how,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like it's not that I was expecting it. It just like in a moment for a flash second, you feel like, oh my God,
How could you do this to me?
do you care about me a little less
Yeah.
now? You know, he was like, no, you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
You
Presents
know, it
are
doesn't
a-
matter.
I mean, you can't like, of course, like replace presents with love, but presents are also kind of a love language,
Yes,
and it's
yes.
okay to
Gift is a
expect
love
them.
language.
You know,
It's a way of saying that even when I was away, you
I was
were
thinking
my
of
I'm thinking
you.
of you.
yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that,
gifts is
that's
my love
meaningful
language, so
to a child. You
a
know,
10 out of 10 to all three moms here.
Thank you.
And the 10 out of 10 is not so much for being moms, which you guys are incredible at anyway, but it's for your honesty and what you brought to the conversation today.
yeah, and I have to
And the
say that
courage.
there is, I'm almost I'm almost like thinking, okay, there are things that I said in this episode, and I'm of course glad that I said them. We won't edit them out, but there is a part of me that's like, should I have not said it? Should I? Do I? You know
Is
what I
that
mean?
the
So-
mom guilt coming up?
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't leave you. It doesn't leave
course.
you. Like even when you've just had the whole purpose of this episode was to have a candid conversation and like shatter the bubble of mom guilt.
Like even for
But
you
you're
to
still-
say,
yeah.
even for you to differentiate between your kids, let's
Yeah.
say, is like something that we don't do, right?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to feel differently
Yeah.
about our kids, even though they're completely different people.
Yeah.
Right. So I think like we need to normalize this idea that you can talk about having negative feelings in your situation.
Yeah, in any
And
situation.
that does not
yeah.
at all in any way reflect on the love that you hold for your child or your commitment to
Or the
that
kind of
child.
mothering you're giving out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that slightly more wholesome note, thank you, Sanjana.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
having me
you,
here, guys. I
thank
could
you.
ramble on and on if you want me to, but I'll take your leave.
But thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you. Thanks for
Okay.
having me.
Bye.
Bye.